think I said it wrong the other day. So we're going to get right into it. Remind me your first name again. I'm terrible.
Doug.
Doug.
Yeah,
I was thinking.
Doug Flight.
Why was I thinking Dave? Yeah, Doug Flight. Yeah.
You can call me Doug.
Yeah.
All right.
So Doug, a little bit of just how you came to start Winkin Son.
Well, basically, I was working in the sales, merchandising, retail industry, third-party merchandising, marketing, for about 20 years. About 2011, I started thinking about transitioning out of that career, if you will. And I've always had knowledge of hemp products from early childhood. My mother used to buy us hemp clothing every year back in the 70s from Patagonia, actually. They used to be the Great Pacific Iron Works back then. So I've always been aware of hemp as a use for products. Growing up on the West Coast, I was certainly also aware of the other side of the plant as well.
Yeah.
So back in 2011, I started thinking of setting up a new business here in West Virginia and ultimately opening a store. So I started researching, purchasing hemp products, kind of in preparation of, excuse me. And then I became affiliated with the Ohio Valley Organic Food Desert nonprofit organization here in Wheeling, building greenhouses and working on their farm and whatnot. Excuse me. Back in about 2012, I was working with Ohio Valley, and we brought hemp food into the farmers market scene here in West Virginia. Hemp seed oil, protein powder, flour, food items that are basically USDA organic certified superfood products.
Yeah.
While I was working with Ohio Valley and kind of introducing hemp foods to the city of Wheeling and Ohio County through my affiliation with Ohio Valley, I was also working on multiple other hemp products, textiles and paper and plastic in the background, with the ultimate goal of opening a brick and mortar retail presence. I gave myself about a 5-year window.
Yeah.
Transitioning from one 20-year career into ultimately having a store. So, while working with Ohio Valley down in Wheeling, I introduced some hemp clothing too, some t-shirts. I would introduce hemp products while I was working with Ohio Valley into the farmers market.
Right.
Get people's opinion. I was kind of doing market demographic research.
Yeah.
Turns out a lot of elderly are very conducive to hemp foods.
Really?
Yeah, surprisingly. I interacted with 70, 80, 90-year-olds. We hit all the senior towers, the farmers market and whatnot.
Yeah.
And many of them are aware of the history prior to its prohibitions. Often I could strike up a conversation with some old retired farmer
Yeah.
who remembered growing hemp back in prior to the 30s,
Right.
et cetera. So anyhow, I continued to kind of have a hemp mobile market out of my own vehicle,
Right.
kind of a garage business. Kept accumulating more hemp products and researching and interacting with pretty much an international scope of other hemp businesses, hemp farmers, consultants in the industry. And then step by step in 2017, well, prior to that I was also consigning hemp products in stores throughout West Virginia. Had a couple in Parkersburg, one in Charleston. So I had about 8 stores in West Virginia that I consigned hemp products to. Was also selling the food and working with Ohio Valley with that market. And then I had a consignment agreement here in Elm Grove with the Spot Skate Shop, which was down the ways a little bit. So I had products in there. Kind of the path forward from there was I partnered with Spot and just kind of moved in as a partner with them, and then spent like the last year there increasing the product availability of hemp, agricultural hemp products. And then we decided to move into this location.
Which we should say is what, the address?
2200 National Road, Elm Grove.
2200 National Road in Elm Grove. We're right across the Ohio County Board of Education building and right down from the bicycle shop.
Across the street from Glowtone Cleaners, you can't miss it.
Yeah. And it
even though we haven't finished our sign yet,
yeah.
we'll have that shortly.
But they have all kinds of really cool banners and stuff when they're open, and it's a cool shop. It's neat that everything is so many products dedicated to hemp and all in one place. And I know we actually tried to do this podcast a couple weeks ago, but we did it during business hours, and so many people came in that we decided to postpone and come in before business hours because it was great to see it got so busy. So real quickly, we'll go through the difference between pot and hemp.
The difference between pot, aka marijuana, and hemp, aka agricultural hemp. It's hard to explain that without getting visual here. You have one plant, the cannabis plant, which is within the Cannabaceae family of plants, which also include hops and hackberry trees, by the way. So if you think of it in terms of a big circle, and the cannabis plant, on the top, on the left side, you have recreational and medicinal cannabis, or pot, marijuana. There's all kinds of slang.
The psychoactive.
That's the psychoactive side. On the right side, you have hemp, which is more the agricultural, industrial product, commodity portion of the plant. They're basically the same plant. They're grown with different methodologies. Hemp is cannabis that has below 0.3% THC in the plant.
Okay.
So the THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, it's the molecule that gets people high or creates the psychotropic effect in pot. With hemp, you have such a small amount of THC in it. Below 0.3% is the internationally accepted threshold for any hemp product, whether it's a shirt, food, plastic, paper, CBD, all of it, to be technically legal has to be below that threshold. So basically hemp is no THC, pot, marijuana, reefer, whatever you want to call it, is above 0.3%. So in the medicinal recreational pot world, you have what's called strains. They name hundreds of different types of strains of that plant in all kinds of creative names, urban poison,
right,
Durban train wreck, or whatever.
Purple haze.
So you have hundreds, if not thousands, of different types of seeds for the medical recreational pot side, but you also have thousands of different cultivars or seed on the hemp side too. There's seed from pretty much every country of hemp. For example, Canada has Canda, Dolores, Felina. They have their own kind of cultivars that they've bred up there for food. You go to Italy and France, and there's other cultivars there, or seeds, hemp seed, Felina Fedora, Fedora 32. So anyhow, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of different types of hemp seed, and as a hemp grower, your focus on whether it's food, which is going to be the seeds. You want more seeds for the
Sure.
for the hemp seed oil, hemp flour, hemp protein powder. So that specific type of a cultivar grows about 4 to 6 feet high and has this huge seed head, because they're only focused on getting the food, the seed portion of the plant. If you start with another fiber cultivar for clothing and paper, and they use the fiber for composite building materials in the auto industry, that type of a cultivar could grow 25 feet high,
Wow.
one stalk. So
I didn't realize they got that tall.
yeah, there's amazing
That's pretty cool.
trees. As a matter of fact, side note, if you go back to 1913 here in the United States, there was a gentleman named Dewey Lister who worked for the Department of Agriculture back then. He was very focused on research and agricultural hemp back in 1913. There's actually a USDA diary journal that he did from 1913, and he's got photos of himself standing next to these 25-foot tall hemp
Wow.
plants, which, by the way, that research farm that he worked on is now where the Pentagon sits.
Is it really?
That used to be a hemp farm.
Wow.
So backtracking a minute. So if your intentions as a farmer of hemp are for fiber, you want the long, tall, long fiber cultivar. If the farmer is farming for food, that's a shorter, stubbier, very big seed head type of plant. So that's just a touch upon the basics of the difference.
Because I think you were mentioning me earlier that even if you want to sprout them, there's even the kind of, they even get more specific in the food and fiber categories depending on if you know what your use is going to be up front. That so it's I think it's
faceted in that specific cultivars have been bred over decades, if not centuries, for if it's food, if it's fiber, and then there's even ones that are considered dual purpose.
Yeah.
So you can get the food, the seed heads, and also fiber from it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And I want to point out something we talked about beforehand, that you mentioned that you're not a recreational marijuana user, and
Nope.
I think that's important because I think that some people think that people that are pro hemp, that it's just because they just want to be able to get high legally, and that's 100% not what you're about. You get excited about all the other uses for the hemp, and that's really what your motivation.
That's what drives me, for sure.
Yeah, and so just so that people are clear that this is not about, hey, I want to be able to get high, so we're going to make some purses so that people will be okay with it. It's that you recognize this as being an important product, and that's what really gets you up in the morning to do this. And I think that's really important and really
Hugely
cool.
important.
Yeah,
And it's a constant daily component of educating
yeah,
the public, because just to touch upon what you said there, I think there's a better way to word that.
right.
And usually that stigma of
Yeah.
misconstruing hemp with marijuana,
Absolutely.
that usually occurs on the medicinal cannabis side,
Right.
medical marijuana. People think that advocates for medical marijuana just want to be able to get high.
Sure.
They want recreational.
Yeah.
Hemp, there's also the stigma and a misunderstanding. But if you look into it and research more about cannabis and hemp, you'll find that the hemp, the agricultural industrial hemp side of that plant, cannabis, is way bigger
Yeah.
than the medical recreational pot side. When they prohibited marijuana back in '37, they included hemp in that law,
Yeah.
and it was more because of there were some very large corporate interests that were heavily invested in the tree and paper pulping and chemicals and alcohol. Some very large corporations had a lot of money, and hemp would compete against their products.
The newspaper guy, he had just bought a bunch of trees. Randolph Hearst, the guy that the movie was made about, the Orson Welles.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it, but
Rosebud
and all that. Anybody that would know the name of the movie, they're probably yelling it at their phone right now. But yeah, so, and there really was a demonization,
concerted effort to squash the growth of hemp.
Yeah, and then to back that up, then in the 50s you had reefer madness and all this stuff, and I found that the people that are really against marijuana use probably have never tried it. And not that I'm here to advocate that, because that's not what this podcast is necessarily about, but I think in general, on both sides of the plant, there's a lot of misunderstanding, and part of that is because it was made illegal and buried underground and demonized, that all that stuff now has to be fought against to re-educate people to the truth of what these plants were for. And I think we had even talked before that Henry Ford used hemp to make car fenders. And
the entire car.
The entire, is that right?
That was a composite. He used canaf hemp, and I think even some other plant materials.
Wow. Could you imagine had that they went down that route instead of the steel route, how much differently the car industry could have been?
There's a whole background story to that one too, because there was some financing by Carnegie, and the people with the money to support Ford opted for the steel instead. They didn't want the plant materials. But he had some research crops of hemp up there in Michigan and Detroit area. He also had some research going on somewhere in South America too. But he was heavily involved in trying to bring hemp to the forefront. He wanted to use it as body parts, composite material, and also to fuel the cars.
It's because it's pretty renewable. It grows relatively quickly, and with all the uses, it is kind of a no-brainer that a lot of people grew it before it was illegal, and that it's good that we're seeing a resurgence, because it is such a
it's a versatile plant. The maybe often overstated quote you hear if you're researching anything about hemp is there's over 50,000 uses for that plant. Food, fuel, clothing, fiber. I mean, they're even doing like nanotechnology.
Wow.
Batteries from hemp, biochar. There's more focus on some scientific applications for it over the last 20 years for hemp.
I've seen. I want to say I saw where they were using it as a fuel, and how effective it was. How many BTUs they were getting out of the fuel, which is something I didn't even realize was possible. And so I think it's great that you're at the forefront of educating people. And now there was some interesting facts we had discussed before about the legislation. The law was passed earlier, but then the ability to actually grow hemp in West Virginia, that took some time, right?
Correct. We were actually the first state to pass a state agricultural hemp law back in 2002. And that law had a 1% THC threshold written into the law, which is also unique, and we're the only state that has that. And the purpose of the representatives or legislature who wrote that bill was to protect the farmers, even though the internationally accepted threshold is 0.3%, which is very low. But our law had it at 1%. Back in 2002, if they had actually allowed farmers to grow it, that would protect the farmer from basically the federal government coming in and taking their farm if it tested over 0.3. But anyhow, that law passed in 2002, but the state Department of Ag didn't release the actual application to farm it until 2016, which was 14 years later.
Wow.
And then in 2016, there was a test per the 2014 Farm Bill, Section 7606, when the Obama administration was in office. That allowed states with a hemp law written into their state law, at that time there was like 4, to grow hemp utilizing their hemp law for research purposes only, aligned with state university systems. So for example, in 2016 there was 9 growers, I was one of them, aligned with WVU, who was also growing a crop, I think on their organic farm. We were researching different types of cultivars. I did 3 Canadian food and 3 Italian fiber cultivars at that time. So basically the law was passed in 2002. You could actually apply and grow with the Department of Agriculture in 2016. 2017, the amount of applicants like tripled.
Wow.
I think it went from like 9 to over 30. This year we're, I think, under 60 in 2018. But that's predicted to double or triple by 2019.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting that they said it's legal to grow. All you have to do is get the permit, but then there's no way of you actually getting the permit. For, yeah.
That's the same thing if you go back to the Prohibition era, when they prohibited marijuana, i.e. hemp,
yeah,
in 1937. Basically the law stated you had to have a marijuana tax stamp to grow it, but then they would not give the tax
Nobody
stamp.
could get the stamp, yeah.
So the tactics were the same, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's definitely taking off now. I mean, I think there's like 39 states with hemp laws now. And
And it's still pretty heavily regulated, right? Recently,
Yeah.
didn't a grower, because something about the seeds crossing state lines?
Per our law, our state law, and per the Department of Agriculture's processes, a farmer here in West Virginia, under our state law, we have to procure, one moment, we have to procure seeds internationally, certified seeds, which there are certified seed, one moment,
That's okay.
which is approved by the DEA on the federal level. So basically certified seed means the company that's selling that seed is certifying that it meets the 0.3%
Okay.
THC level. It's been grown for years. They know they're going to have the exact plant.
Yeah.
So you have to have certified seed imported and approved by the DEA here in West Virginia. Well, this particular grower or group of people this year brought seed in from Kentucky
Oh, okay.
over state lines instead of going through the state law, which requires you to procure certified seeds internationally.
Yeah.
That's kind of in flux, and it probably will change this year, and I think that's going to be a test case for that. But there are other states, Oregon, North Carolina, Colorado, their law's written where they can. They can interstate buy seeds. Like Colorado can send seeds to North Carolina,
Right.
North Carolina. But each individual state has a little bit different hemp laws. Some are more favorable to the farmer, some are way over-regulated. Ours are pretty firm
Yeah.
in that the Department of Ag reverts to the DEA. So, for example, our law in West Virginia states that a farmer can have up to 0.1% THC, but the Department of Agriculture won't honor that in our state law. They revert to the internationally accepted threshold at 0.3.
Oh, okay.
So basically, they're just following the lead
Yeah.
of the DEA and the federal government here.
Yeah.
They're not quite where they need to be in terms of protecting the farmer.
Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully,
Backing the farmer.
hopefully,
They're doing what they can.
yeah. Well, and hopefully, as people become more educated, they'll they'll kind of see that we'll see those things changing as it becomes less and less demonized within the people that are unaware.
I think more than likely by next year, and with this upcoming legislation, there may be a change in the existing hemp law which allows for, because that's a big issue with licensed farmers here, hemp farmers, is they want to buy the seed from Kentucky or North Carolina or Colorado, from other states, and even if it had to go from, say, Tennessee, you've got hemp farmers there. If they have seed that we can grow over here, it's already been tested, their Department of Agriculture should communicate with and work with our Department of Agriculture so that a farmer, licensed farmer, can say, okay, I'm going to buy my seed this year from Joe Smith, the farmer in Tennessee. So that's a big kind of issue in flux right now. And we want to sell our seed to other states too, which we can't do now. You're not allowed to take it across lines.
Yeah.
So I predict by next year that'll be kind of sorted out in the wash, because it's an evolving thing as we reintroduce hemp back into America.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess there are a lot of growing pains with anything like that.
There are, but that's a big issue, because
I can see how
we're forced to buy seed from another country, and they're not necessarily the best seed for our region, which is latitude 40. So,
well, in a country where we pride ourselves on a free market economy, that kind of goes against the grain of that. And
absolutely,
the ability for people to buy the best products that they can buy
and be able to sell those products.
And be able to sell the products, that's what a free market economy is all about. And we do it with other things that are maybe less in the public interest. So it only makes sense that we should expand it to this. And I think more and more people are coming around, and
they are.
I think it's I guess one of those pain in the butt things we have to deal with until.
Well, it's a reintroduction of agricultural commodity plants into society after it has been demonized since the 30s.
Yeah.
That said, it has really grown, no pun intended, over the last 5 years as being a more acceptable agricultural crop. You have several southern states that have had a disappearing tobacco industry. The Carolinas and Kentucky and Tennessee and Virginia and maybe West Virginia a little bit. A lot of those old tobacco farmers are now coming online, retooling everything, which is not much because it's very similar to tobacco.
Sure.
And there's a huge movement for that. It's reinvigorating economies down in those states that were focused on tobacco. And then you throw in the new popularity of a product or a range of products that's called CBD, which is short for cannabidiol, which is a molecule or component of the cannabis plant, i.e. the hemp plant. That is just exploding. CBD
in fact, when I was in here the last time, a young lady came in and she was asking about CBD oil, and it's actually something that I've heard about, but I'm not that much aware of. So let's talk a little bit more about CBD oil, because I know that there's a lot of uses for it. What are some of the main reasons that issues that people treat with CBD oil?
Well, let's go back to that plant. So you have the cannabis plant. On one side you have hemp, on the other you have medical recreational marijuana. Within that plant, there are over 130 different cannabinoids.
Oh, okay.
THC is one, CBD is another. That's just two of the 130 different cannabinoids, which science is now finding out through research internationally. A lot of those cannabinoids have legitimate scientific basis for helping people with medical ailments. CBD is the cannabinoid that is non-psychotropic, You don't get high. You don't get a buzz. It is, I guess you'd say, the legal cannabinoid. THC is legal in medical recreational states.
Yeah.
So CBD, cannabidiol, is one of the over 130 cannabinoids in that cannabis plant. CBD, as it exists in the market worldwide right now, that can be obtained from a high THC cannabis plant through an extraction process, but it could also be obtained from hemp, which has the below 0.3% threshold. So the majority of the CBD you're hearing about, and seeing about, and reading about, seeing in stores, that's derived from hemp.
Okay.
That's legal in all states here in America if it's derived from hemp. It's illegal if it's derived from cannabis that has above 0.3%.
Okay.
So, for example, if somebody has a CBD product that was made in a state that has a medical or recreational law from marijuana, that's not legal here.
Yeah.
So the big focus is on CBD made from hemp.
Okay.
There's a huge market. It has increased over 400% over the last 2 years. And CBD, which is short for cannabidiol, it's being put into food products and tinctures and pet food, and pet products, and Walmart even sells it.
Do they really?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
That was on their website a year or two ago, actually. So CBD actually is touted for helping people with anxiety, inflammation issues, and I don't want to say the more important, but the more beneficial and use that most people are hearing about in the media, from like Dr. Sanjay Gupta did a special on it. CBD helps people with seizure type ailments.
Wow.
Epilepsy, grand mal, and especially kids.
Yeah.
So they're back to the specific type of cultivars again. Hemp breeders are actually breeding hemp seeds to have a very high CBD level in the plant. So it's an evolving breeding kind of science, agricultural science thing going on, where they're breeding out THC and increasing CBD.
Oh wow.
It's really fascinating. Actually, I could go on, but I'll spare you. So anyhow, CBD, at least what people are seeing in stores and online, and there is a big push for it. I mean, you could go to the local gas station and buy it, which drives me crazy, but you can come here instead.
Yeah. Well, and I guess we could mention this because we're not mentioning anybody's name, but the person that came in when I was here had gotten released from the ER, I think the night before, she said, because she had a really bad seizure, and I think the nurse recommended that she come here and try CBD oil for her seizures. Yeah. And
it's legitimate science.
Yeah.
The way the law exists right now about hemp and medical, recreational, etc., CBD and the other cannabinoids haven't officially been approved by the FDA and the federal government. You can't make medical claims. It's kind of like supplements or essential oils, alternative therapy kind of stuff. So there's a fine line there. That said, the FDA has just recently approved the first pharmaceutical drug that contains CBD. There's a company out of Britain called JWExPod. They just had FDA approval and now have a drug called Epidiolex. It's CBD based. They've taken the single molecule of CBD and made a pharmaceutical drug out of it.
Wow.
And they're trying to patent CBD. It's kind of a big debate, kind of war going on.
Yeah, how do you patent?
Well, potentially GW Pharmaceuticals, by having FDA approval and having the Epidiolex approved as a pharmaceutical, can potentially kill the entire CBD market, because
Wow.
if they own the patent CBD,
Yeah.
it's a long sorted thing. But they also, that Epidiolex CBD pharmaceutical drug was just recently, the federal government and the DEA rescheduled CBD, because it's a hemp cannabis product,
Yeah.
to a Schedule 5, which is like cough syrup,
Oh wow.
aspirin, but they only did it for pharmaceutical companies, CBD.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that's what's been going on over the last month or so. Where was I going with that?
I think that the inflammation is issues is what kind of brought it to my attention. I think I do CrossFit, so I work out at a gym, and I'm also pretty interested in health and nutrition, and inflammation.
Kind of the root of all pain.
Yeah, and it also, you release, when you're inflamed, you release other chemicals into your body that have these effects that are far-reaching beyond just the inflammation. So it is not only pain, but other issues that if you can reduce the inflammation, you can reduce the production of certain chemicals within your body. And so I think it's
disease inhibitors.
Yeah.
There's definitely multiple levels of benefit to the human body. All mammals have what's called an endocannabinoid system. Pets, humans, dolphins.
Yeah.
So basically CBD, especially in women, our endocannabinoid system creates cannabinoids naturally, phytocannabinoids. In women, they create cannabinoids because they reproduce and provide mother's milk. Well, there's endocannabinoids, there's cannabinoids in women's breast milk, if you will. But most humans, most mammals, including pets, since they've taken hemp kind of out of the agricultural food system 100 years ago, we have what's called a endocannabinoid deficiency. Your body regulates the internal cannabinoids through your endocannabinoid system, and if anybody's interested, definitely Google search it, because we all basically need cannabinoids. They affect multiple parts of our body, our neurosystem and organs and everything. I provide educational literature, all kinds of information if people are interested, and then I can send them to my Pinterest and Facebook sites, because I've been compiling actual scientific peer-reviewed data and very good quality information for about a half a decade about CBD.
I think it's great that you do understand the science and the importance of using the proper terms, and it shows how educated and well read you are on this topic, and that you know the specifics of it, because I think that goes a long way to help legitimize the field, and for people to not just feel like they're getting someone's opinion, but they're getting the facts.
And not getting ripped off.
And they're not getting ripped off,
I cannot believe how many people come in that I talk to. They're like, oh, I bought this online.
Yeah.
And if you research and read the ingredients on it, it's like there's nothing in there. It horrifies me. Literally every day, somebody comes in here and says, oh, I bought this from so-and-so online. You have to really be careful. It's like a buyer beware, green rush kind of craziness that's going on.
When I first became aware of CBD oil, I went online to look for a source of it, and it was so confusing. And I like to research, because it wasn't cheap. It wasn't, at least
it can be very expensive.
And so much differing information, and trying to figure out who's selling the legit stuff and who's selling something that isn't, and then some of them said that it's not really CBD oil, it was hemp seed oil, and that was different, and for me, I threw my hands up. I said, I'm I'm not going to waste my.
Confusing as all heck.
Yeah, and until
Getting better though.
What's it? Yeah, and I think as it becomes more popular and people become more aware, the fakers will get rooted out. And
the key to that, as with any other type of food supplement product that you're going to put in your body for human consumption or pet consumption, is the labeling and the laboratory testing. So the industry is sort of generating more towards getting rid of the fraudsters and tricksters and snake oil. You really need to focus on what's in. Does that company have lab testing results? You need to know where it's grown, preferably. There's several levels of key things you need to know before you spend $150 on something that has little to no CBD in it.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure it has lab testing results. You want to know, preferably, my opinion and my preference is that you're getting a product that was grown in America. They use the flower tops of female hemp as opposed to the big, there's European industry and Chinese where they take literally hundreds of acres of hemp stalks and seed and leaves and the byproducts of their other industrial uses of hemp, extract CBD out of that. So they're taking mass amounts to get a little bit of CBD, which exposes you to heavy metals, pesticides, and some other pollutants in the process, as opposed to, and in comparison to, the flowering tops of hemp grown in America by hemp farmers in whatever state it may be. It's a more pure process and you're getting less pollutants in it. So you want to make sure you're getting a product that is USA grown. I mean, it can be grown in other countries too, but first and foremost, I want to support all of the hemp industry in America, even though I have Canadian and every other country products in there. So you want to make sure that farm has lab tests done on their product that they can supply you. You want to know what dosage is actually in that product, hence the need for a proper label, because that's where a lot of confusion lies, is how much is in this, how much should I take?
Right.
The dosage, they've made it unnecessarily complicated when it could be so simple.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of math. You have a 60 milliliter container, there's 600 milligrams of CBD in it. You're going to get 20 milligrams of CBD per dropper. That's some of the education that I try to provide people so they know, because everybody that comes in is like, how much do I take?
Yeah, do you take a shot, a spoonful, or a drop?
And that boils down to how much your body actually needs, because if you have a deficiency in your endocannabinoid system, then you may need more. So generally speaking, and not to beat a dead horse on the CBD topic, but it's really important to me, you want all the information you can get from that company and lab test reports. And as the industry has evolved over the last 5 years that I've been involved in it, it's getting better. It's getting a little more regulated so that the customer's not going to get burned. That said, there's still all kinds of shucksters and scams, and I call it cartoon product.
Yeah.
You know, they'll make that product packaging look like cereal for kids or whatever.
Yeah.
It horrifies me.
They make it very appealing. Or they make it look real earthy and homemade,
There's all
homespun.
kinds of marketing.
It's amazing. You put on an old-fashioned looking label and you give something a name that makes it look real homestead, and people have no idea that it was made in the
marketing 101.
Yeah, the big Walmart factory and vice versa, and
coming from my previous career in merchandising and retail sales, I get that.
I had heard that what's the whiskey that comes in the bottle, Crown Royal, that without changing the formula, they just went from being a fairly cheap whiskey to putting it in the crystal-looking bottle with the velvet bag, the purple pouch, and
800% sales increase.
Yeah, and without really changing the formula. And even when they do these blind domestic beer studies, Old Milwaukee and some of the other cheaper beers, Pabst, those were the ones that in a blind taste test people liked. They were less filtered. They tasted more like beer. But you ask,
Coke.
Yeah, you ask the Budweiser drinker, and I'm like, that's piss beer. Well,
that's what's going on in the industry. There's a lot of larger companies that are marketing, and you've got multi-level marketing. It's settling kind of a little bit. I mean, it needs to get to a point where you have proper labeling with the nutrition facts, dosage, everything you need, so people aren't just confused, and the lab testing.
And if you're listening to this and you do your research, or you've done your research and you're still confused, come see Doug. I'm sure you'd be glad to
or go to Winkin Hemp Company's
even
Pinterest site.
There you go.
Where I've compiled really good data for about 5 years now.
And save yourself
some
a little
homework.
Save yourself a lot of time trying to sort through all the
money.
all the facts. And money. Especially if you're already have bought or you're thinking about buying soon, before you place that order.
Before you make a purchase decision, do your research and your due diligence. Preferably Winkin Hemp Co. Pinterest, CBD and cannabinoids section. I mean, if you do a Google search for CBD, you will get 8 gazillion.
I can testify to that. Yeah, it's
I would put in CBD lab tested, peer reviewed science, something like that, and then you'll get more qualified.
Yeah, that's a good tip, because I know whether you're looking for a computer hard drive or CBD oil or anything, or a lawnmower, if you go on the internet and say top 10, you have no idea if they're being sponsored by a certain company. Most of the time they are, and generally, sometimes you'll even notice that the reviews are cut and pasted. And lately, I've been getting into ferments, so it's funny.
Info on that, sure.
And I noticed that a lot of it is literally the same information under a different person's name. And when I start seeing a bunch of pop-ups and
paid advertising,
especially for stuff in that same realm, I become suspicious, especially if they tell you that you need this or that, and where I know that you can do a lot of it with glass jars, and obviously there's specialty equipment that helps with that, but I become very suspicious of
to touch upon that for a minute in terms of education and information.
Yeah.
I provide a good bit of it. I mean, yes, I would like to sell products here, but if people want to come in and just grab some literature and read about it before they make a purchasing decision anywhere, online, the gas station down the street, at least they can come in, I will give it to you for free. And you can learn about it, take it home and do a little bit of research. We're going to see the CBD and cannabinoids market. You're going to see more of those cannabinoids in products. Like I said, there's over 130 of them. THC and CBD are only 2.
Yeah.
You're going to see CBG, CBN, CBT, THC8. They're all coming online as being beneficial to our health. And more products are including other cannabinoids. It's called broad spectrum. From a health perspective, if you're going to put cannabinoids in your body, you really do want a broad spectrum product as opposed to just CBD or just THC. The issue, going back to the stigma and the laws and propaganda, some people only want CBD because they think that they will fail urine tests.
Right.
I get pipeliners and frackers.
Sure.
And people from the hospital, they're purchasing just CBD, and that's good, but you're definitely not getting the overall benefit from a health perspective without the other cannabinoids in it. And that's something you can read about and learn about. And as the industry and the laws on the federal and state levels change and evolve, ultimately, I think, because there are states that are contesting drug testing.
Yeah.
For example, in medical and recreational states, they can do that,
Yeah.
but then they could also lose their job
Right.
in the same state.
For doing something that's legal.
So there's some laws evolving about that right now, in 5 years or whatever. But if people are concerned, CBD only is certainly beneficial. And you can learn more about that online. You can come in here and get some literature. I had something I was going to add to that.
I could say from when I was in here and get a chance to just observe you interacting with the customers, that even just amongst the products that you sell here, there's such a wide variety and the uses of them that if you're really thinking about trying CBD oil, I highly recommend that you do come down here and not only to get a good quality product, but to figure out which product will suit what it is that you're trying to take care of with it in the best way. Because I know that you, just watching you deal with the customer and several different options and asking the customer, how does this fit into your life and what you need it for. And so I think that's the kind of thing that we're lucky to have a shop like this in the area. And to me, it makes sense to come down here and do it in person rather than online, just so that you can dial it in specifically to your needs and also have a good insurance that you take the guesswork out of whether you're getting a good product or not. And also at the same time, you'll learn a little bit more about the product than you ever will, I think, just from reading an article online. So I highly recommend coming down to the shop and seeing how it can be helpful, because we're not talking to just a salesman here. We're talking to someone that's really spent a lot of time researching all aspects of the products that they sell. And growing it, yeah. So
not to interrupt.
Oh, no,
by the way, we're trying to establish a West Virginia grown hemp industry.
Yeah.
So we don't want to buy CBD products from Kentucky, Colorado, Tennessee. I mean, we do. We want to support other states in America, make America hemp again. But anyhow, we really need West Virginia grown CBD products.
Yeah.
And that's an ultimate goal of mine. It's a very difficult thing to achieve, though.
And it goes right along with the farm to table thing that's happening in food, that grow it locally, use it locally. I think the more that it is used, grown and used near the source, the better it is for everybody. You support your neighbors, you support an industry that's important for your own community, and I think that's
West Virginia agriculture.
Yeah.
They actually do have a program called WV Grown, which I've applied for one of my products. You get a sticker and some promotion. The Department of Ag works with whether it's a farmer who's doing honey, or if it's West Virginia grown, it's a program
it promotes
that helps
that it's
promote people, businesses, and farms and whatnot. My approval for that is probably pending, but I applied under I have a product called Mega Heal, which uses hemp that was grown in West Virginia in 2016 and 2017. It's more in the form of the oil and infused hemp root.
Oh, wow.
So I haven't gotten to the point. I'm not sure they're at the point where they're going to approve a WV grown CBD product.
Yeah.
Until the landscape of hemp kind of settles down in America on the federal level. Which, by the way, if people are interested, the 2018 Farm Bill, which is in Congress right now, it's been kind of kicked down the road after midterm elections. That is a bipartisan bill. It's going to replace the 2014 Farm Bill there's an amendment in there for agricultural hemp that was initiated by the Speaker, Majority Senate Speaker McConnell from Kentucky. He has an amendment in the 2018 Farm Bill, which is going to legalize hemp nationwide.
Wow.
It's going to reschedule it and make it just like corn, soy,
Wow.
wheat. So
That'd be incredible for the industry.
it's a huge
Yeah.
thing that a lot of people throughout the nation are kind of waiting. It passed in the House, it was sent to the Senate, then it went into committee.
Yeah.
It was supposed to come back, and then you've got midterm elections, so they basically said, well, we're going to wait.
Yeah.
That said, it is a huge deal, because when that passes, it's going to, every farmer in America will now have the ability to apply for USDA agricultural grants.
Wow.
They'll also be able to apply for crop insurance for hemp. You're going to see a huge movement to farmers changing from corn, soy, wheat, hay,
Yeah.
to growing hemp. And this
Wow.
is going to happen within the next year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really good
And
news.
then hence you're going to see a massive amount of hemp products hitting the market in the U.S.
Yeah. Probably things that people may not even be aware.
Food and CBD probably are they're kind of like the top
Yeah.
revenue generating products. But
What are some of the products from the hemp that you grow? What are some of the products that you guys have?
I do a product called Mega Heal. I did a tattoo aftercare balm a year or so ago, and basically I infused hemp roots from the grow in 2016 and 2017, and I also infused the hemp plant matter in hemp seed oil, and then I used that as an ingredient for a salve.
Wow.
So I've got the tattoo aftercare balm, and then I've got a new product that's a healing salve that also has 25 milligrams of CBD in it. So it's a hemp healing balm with CBD in it, and I use the hemp root, which, if somebody wants to research, hemp root has been used for thousands of years, actually, for bone issues and
Oh, wow.
abscesses and skin conditions. Hemp seed oil is probably the best oil for your skin, nails, and hair
Wow.
on the human body and animals. So, infused hemp seed oil with hemp root and hemp plant matter are two integral ingredients with hemp seed oil. We've done some kind of crafty, artisanal attempts at fiber.
Mm-hmm.
So we took some fiber from 2016 and separated the fiber from the inner woody core using that implement you're sitting next to there.
Oh, that's
a
cool.
Hemp break. That's actually fiber there.
Yeah,
Grab that thing.
it's cool.
So we took that, similar, and weaved it in with alpaca, organic cotton.
Oh, wow.
There's a local spinner here, Sarah Hubb, who's the epitome of the spinster.
Yeah.
She's been doing it since the 60s. Anyhow, I gave her a bunch of the hemp we grew, and she spun it and wove some sample
Oh, nice.
things. She did one with hemp and Pyrenees dog hair, which is amazingly soft like silk.
Wow.
So we experimented with some crafty fiber products, I guess you'd say, but we didn't really take it that far because it's very difficult to do fiber because we have no textile infrastructure really
Right,
left in
right.
America. China pretty much owns that worldwide.
Okay.
They do the shirts and the clothing and the fiber and the textiles.
Yeah. From a food standpoint, it's a little bit easier to get started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've also done, I didn't focus on food items, mostly kind of local crafty hobby, artsy things with the stalks and the roots. I had some local artisan make some kind of crafty stuff. That's a stalk and a plant on the top
Oh,
shelf.
okay, cool.
Smaller one. And things like this, I had one guy took some hemp and he made some rope out of it. But primarily, I I use the root, the oils, to make kind of health and beauty products.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I'm about ready to come out with another one, and I've recently partnered with another gentleman whose name is Doug, by the way. 2 Dougs.
The Dougs.
Yeah, we have some things we've been working on with a product line coming out, which I think people will be really fascinated with, but I can't tell you about it yet.
Okay. And just so people know that pretty much, I see looks like a guitar bag, all kinds of clothing.
Yeah, we have paper. I have hemp composite plastic items and T-shirts and button-up shirts and bags. I design bags and purses and have them handmade in Nepal. I have my own brand of hemp shirts, button-up dress shirts I have made in Nepal, fair trade, with my supplier, Santosh. I do the T-shirts and other kind of more, I don't want to say upper level, but better quality textile products.
Yeah.
I do have a partner with a supplier in Qingdao, China, since they pretty much own the textile industry.
Yeah.
So I do T-shirts, pants, bags, purses,
Great.
paper, CBD, your hempy kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Foods. I import USDA organic certified hemp seed oil, hemp protein powder, hemp flour, hemp pasta from Canada.
Wow.
Canada is really kind of like the world's leader in food. They started back in the 90s before other countries were really on board with it.
I know there's a nutrition company that I follow, and that they always got their hemp seed products, nutrition products, that they imported everything from Canada.
Yeah.
Hey, Doug, I have.
That's okay.
Give me a moment, Tyler.
Yeah. It's okay. We're almost done anyhow. So, in closing, is there anything else that you wanted to cover, or?
I would say learn more about agricultural hemp and cannabis, for that matter. Understand the differences between the medical, recreational cannabis side, which is like West Coastish, I guess you'd say. And try to learn more about industrial hemp as an agricultural commodity in the state of West Virginia.
Good.
I work with my partner Susan as a team. We grow as a licensed hemp farmers here, and we're expanding into next year. We really want to see the West Virginia Northern Panhandle come on board and get some farms growing hemp, and work as a cooperative, and work with the Department of Ag and get some agricultural industry going. My focus is on the Northern Panhandle.
Sure.
So if anybody's interested in farming hemp or participating in the 2019 season, I would ask they reach out to us.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me and helping to educate the listeners. And I want to encourage anybody that has any questions more about hemp to go online and check out his Pinterest page and to do the research that he had talked about, and also come down and check out the store. And if you think you might like to try some hemp products, I can't think of a better place for you to come and get educated before you do, and know that you're getting a good quality product from a local business person that really cares about the community and about the product that he's selling. So, hey, thanks a lot, man.
Thank you.
All right. On behalf of Doug Flight,
Winkin Son Hemp Company,
and James Wodarcyk, thanks for listening, and until the next time, see ya.
Change everything you are and everything you are. Your number has been called. revenge will surely come.